You've found Wickett on Wisconsin, your one-stop podcast for all things Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and the rest of your favorite teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. We're powered by Wisconsin Sports Heroics, online at wisportsheroics.com and the Wisconsin Podcast Association. And now, here's your host, Mike Wickett.
All right, welcome in. It's a bye-week episode of the Wickett on Wisconsin podcast. I'm Mike Wickett. Packers off. So normally, the podcast during the middle of the week here on Wickett on Wisconsin, we look at what the Packers did last week and then turn the page. Well, we already looked at their last win. It was the, I guess, dominant performance over the LA Rams. I guess dominant. I mean, I didn't feel very worried in that second half. Didn't have a ton of faith in Matt Stafford. And I thought Green Bay just played a fantastic game in that one, even without, 100% Aaron Jones. And that's kind of what people are talking about, I think, in all Packers circles these days, is what's going to happen against the Chicago Bears. Where does Green Bay go from here after having the late bye? And I love the late bye. I know some people don't like the late bye. I know with Aaron Rodgers and the toe thing, the late bye kind of sucks. But I kind of dig the late bye. It's like, okay, it's that last group. I mean, if you think about it, go back to last year, Tampa Bay's bye week was week 13. And they went on to win the Super Bowl. You get the old man, Brady, a little chance to regroup, and Gronk and whatnot. It had been an up and down start to the year, but after the bye week last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were firing on all cylinders. And you hope the same for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, Tampa Bay looked great in the second half of last season. You hope Green Bay looks great the second half. Well, the second half, I guess the second part after the bye, the final push here, because what is it? It's December 8th. And you're hoping that week off really cured some ails. And we got news about an hour ago that Jair Alexander has been activated off the IR, and now they've got 21 days to put him on the roster, and he could play within 21 days. Does that mean he's going to play this weekend against the Bears? I doubt it. I don't think they need Jair Alexander to beat the Chicago Bears. But they got some games coming up where Jair could definitely help, including one with Baltimore. Now, I know Baltimore doesn't throw the ball all over the yard all that well because Lamar Jackson still, say what you want, man. The last time we saw Lamar, he threw 4 picks. So the Ravens are up after the Bears, and then it's the Browns, then it's the Vikings, then the final game on January 9th with the Detroit Lions. So they don't necessarily, I mean, you look at those, there's not a ton of great passing attacks outside of the Vikings, and we know what happened with Minnesota when Green Bay went to Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago. But I would take all the time in the world to get Jair back with the shoulder injury and heal him up as much as you can. You don't need him to beat the Bears. You might need him to beat the Baltimore Ravens, but that's going to be a more contained, kind of like what they did with Kyler Murray on Thursday Night Football, 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever. That's going to be the kind of the same thing with Lamar Jackson, because Lamar is, to me, much more dangerous if he's able to get outside and scurry away. That dude is crazy good with his legs. I don't really worry all that much about Lamar Jackson throwing the football. I did worry more about Kyler Murray throwing the football than I do about Lamar Jackson. And as I say that, I'm sure Lamar this weekend, he'll listen to this podcast, and then he'll throw for like 4 bills, whoever Baltimore's playing. I think Baltimore's playing Cleveland this weekend. I don't have the full schedule in front of me. But, there's one dude that the Packers are going to get back in the next couple of weeks, Matt LaFleur. Didn't sound like it was going to happen this week, and again, that's fine. I don't know if it's going to be Fields, or I don't know if it's going to be the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. We don't know. But that's not an offense that scares you. Allen Robinson, who knows if he's going to be back on the the wide receiver spot. Darnell Mooney is a nice player, but he's not Devontae Adams. He's not an upper echelon top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. He might be one day. I like Mooney. I think he's really good, and I think when Allen Robinson leaves Chicago this year, that's going to be their number one playmaker on offense. They may have to figure out somebody else to draft and whatnot, and this is not a Bears podcast. This is Wickett on Wisconsin. But you look around at some of the teams in the division about what the future may hold. We're going to do that because I see one playoff team in this division. It's the Green Bay Packers. Again, more on that after we talk more about this football team here. So they're going to get Jair Alexander back soon. Could see David Bakhtiari again. I don't think it has to be this weekend, although I don't think it has to be this weekend against the Chicago Bears. But losing Elton Jenkins like they did 10 days ago sucks. If they're going to make the Super Bowl run, if they're going to make the last dance happen for Aaron Rodgers, they're going to need a healthy offensive line, and losing Elton Jenkins puts a big, big hit on that. But getting David Bakhtiari next or getting him back is the next thing for Green Bay. If you give, and of course, Zadarius Smith. All signs are pointing to Zadarius Smith and his back issue being in the rearview mirror, and Z getting back on the field for the first time this year. Think about this. If you are going to add Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, and Zadarius Smith back to this lineup within the next couple of weeks against that schedule, and I'll read it again. Let me open up my phone again. Bears at the Ravens, Browns on Christmas at Lambeau, Vikings the following week, and then the Lions. I mean, I look at that and think, that's 4 wins. There's 4 out of 5. Right? That sounds like it's 4 out of 5, right? With the only loss, most likely, if you had to pick a loss, if you're writing it down on paper, you would say the loss would come at Baltimore. Just because road game, and Lamar always plays well in the clutch in the regular season. But 9-3 Green Bay could wind up, let's see, 4 more. 14-3? 14-4? 14-5. I'm doing too many games here. They're 9-3. You can see how many more wins for Green Bay right now. A win over the Bears, I think. A win over the Browns. A win over the Vikings. Win over the Lions. So that gets them to 13 wins. Maybe a loss to the Ravens. 13-5. I can't do math. 13-4. I never claimed to be the smartest guy in the world when it comes to math, and in the 17-game season is really messing up my head. But 13-4 is good enough to compete for the number 1 seed, which is currently held by the Arizona Cardinals. And if they get to 13-4, I don't know Arizona's schedule going out, but if the Packers can get to 13-4, that would be winning 4 of the remaining 5 games, which is very doable. You would expect that to be good enough for Green Bay to either have or compete down to the wire for the number 1 seed and to get that bye. That would be fantastic. And then to have the divisional round get played at Lambeau Field. That's the goal right now. Win 4 of the next 5. I know the goal is win 1, but win 4 of the next 5, get the bye so everybody can get healthy again after the 9th of January. Because this week is all about getting guys healthy. It's been about getting Jair healthy, getting David Bakhtiari healthy, and I have no idea what's going on with the back of Zadarius Smith, but it almost felt like it was more than just an injury. It almost felt like there was a contract thing. He wants to get paid. But it sounds like it's just been the back lately, and he's going to get back. If you can get those guys healthy, added back to this roster, winning 4 out of 5 is not out of the question. And we're all one game at a time and focus on, just the task at hand and the Chicago Bears, a division game. Come on. The Bears stink. I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care if it's Justin Fields. I don't care if it's Andy Dalton. I don't care if they're going to bring back Jake Cutler or Sid Luckman. The Bears stink. And the Packers should wrap this thing up by halftime. They're a 12.5-point favorite right now. Then they go on the road to Baltimore. Then they host the Browns on Christmas. And who knows what the Browns are going to look like. But if you add those pieces back specifically on defense to a defense that's already playing well and an offense that seemingly is really starting to click these days, Aaron is playing a lot better. Davante Adams is Davante Adams. A.J. Dillon getting more involved in the offense is one of my favorite things and developments from the entire season. I absolutely love A.J. Dillon. He might be my favorite Green Bay Packer outside of number 12. I just love the way that he plays, and I love the fact that he's actually being utilized. And is it going to be a 50-50 split? Is Aaron Jones going to go back to being alpha? I don't think so. It sounds like some of the comments you hear from Matt LaFleur, it makes me believe that this is going to be a 1 and 1A thing, maybe a 55-45 split, not the dramatic Aaron Jones is the man and A.J. Dillon is the afterthought kind of stuff, which has happened, and for good reason. I mean, Aaron Jones is a superstar talent, and A.J. Dillon is the young guy in his second year. But it sounds like, especially needing Aaron Jones to be healthy. And he's not the biggest dude in the world. I mean, you've seen the picture of Aaron Jones standing next to A.J. Dillon and the words, these two guys play the same position. Everyone looks small next to A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones isn't a little guy, but he's not the biggest back in the world. He's better in open space. A.J. Dillon's better as the battering ram. That's why this thunder and lightning thing is so much fun to watch. And that's why I really hope that they utilize A.J. Dillon a lot more doing that. He's so physical, so fun to watch, trucking people, causing car accidents while he's out there and knocking people over. And then you hit the home run ball with Aaron Jones, who might have the second best hands on the team after Davante Adams. This should be a cakewalk, and I'm sure it won't be just because I'm saying that, but this should be a cakewalk coming up on Sunday. It's Sunday Night Football. The whole world's going to be watching. I'm sure you'll be texting your Chicago Bears friends that you might have, the guy in your office that roots for the Bears. You'll be texting them all night. You see what Rodgers just did again? You know, the rest of the division, every team is an interesting case, isn't it, in the NFC North? Every team from here on out, and I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about this year and next. You know, you take the opponent, the Bears, it feels like Chicago isn't doing anything to make you believe they know what's going on for the long-term future. You know, besides Fields, you just don't know. I mean, Roquan Smith is hurt. Khalil Mack probably done after needing surgery and missing the back end of this season. Boy, he'd look good in green and gold, wouldn't he? Wouldn't Khalil Mack look really good in green and gold? Do what Julius Peppers did and head up north and go play for a team and get that ring and get I know. The Packers are in salary cap hell going into next year. With Rodgers' salary, who knows if he's around? And with Davante's wants, I've already spoken about that. You can read my story at wisportsheroics.com about Davante Adams and his salary want. I think I saw somewhere that it would have to average out from what people are hearing. I think I read Davante's going to want something in the 4-year, $93 million category. Sorry. Davante is the best wide receiver in football, but the best wide receiver in football doesn't make that much money and still be on a championship-level team. The receiver spot is important, but it's not that important. Take, for example, the New England Patriots. How are they getting it done? Rookie quarterback, pieces all around, 2 tight ends. They run the ball with a committee, and they got the best team in the NFL right now, or the best team in the AFC right now. You know, the Arizona Cardinals have won a bunch of games. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't really been a part of those games. He's been banged up. So you think about the highest paid wide receivers in football. They're not necessarily the guys that are getting the job done, or the teams that are getting the job done are doing it without him, or maybe in spite. So I don't know what the future is going to hold for Davante, but you look at the Chicago Bears, and I'm a huge David Montgomery fan. I think that guy is a talent. He kind of reminds you of A.J. Dillon. Big bruiser, knocks people over, catches the ball out of the backfield really well. That's the guy, in my mind, it should be Fields and Montgomery and Mooney, and maybe Cole Kmet. The dude just seems to score touchdowns every time I turn on a Bears game. But those 3 guys are the ones they need to build around down there in Chicago. Figure out the offensive line. There are some pieces on defense. Obviously, you don't know what's going to become of Khalil Mack. Roquan Smith's going to have to get back on the field next summer and prove that this little injury thing is not a big deal. But I don't know if the future's all that bright for the Chicago Bears. Their head coach, Matt Nagy, likely gone. Unless they win the remaining 5 games, I can't see Matt Nagy sticking around. Their general manager, Ryan Pace, is he linked to Matt Nagy? Are they going to be fired together? Then where do they go for their head coach? I mean, there's all that talk about Ryan Day. I don't think Ryan Day is going to be leaving Ohio State. He's got too good of a thing going at Ohio State. Why would he leave to go coach the Chicago Bears? But crazier stuff has happened. Urban Meyer's the head coach of the Jaguars, so who knows what could happen, how much money it would take to lure a guy out of one of the best coaching jobs in football where he has had a ton of success to bring that offense with Fields. I mean, that seems like it's a really good fit from a quarterback, head coach, offensive system mentality. But I don't know where they're going to wind up going over there in Chicago. The Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Lions, I mean, you saw the final play. You saw what actually happened with Detroit. Their future, I don't know. I am not a big fan of Dan Campbell. I think he is a fired-up guy I don't know if he's the greatest coach in the world. He's calling the offensive plays now. It was a very class act thing what he did after the Lions got their first win when they beat the Vikings last week to dedicate the game ball and mention those victims of the Oxford shooting. I thought that was a tremendous move on his part. I thought the clock management up until the point when the Lions got the ball back was horrendous. If you go back and you watch that game, the Lions had the ball, fourth down and a yard, 4th and 1 on their own 29 with a minute and a half to go or 2:14 to go or whatever it was, and they had the lead. And they went for it. And they let Goff throw, and he turned it over. I think he fumbled or he dropped it, and it got caught on the way down, so it was a pick or whatever. It was a turnover right there. So the Lions actually lost yardage on the 4th down play. Jamal Williams didn't get the ball on either of the Lions' 2 4th down tries in that game. The Vikings go down the field, and the Vikings, to their credit, poorly clock managed the Detroit Lions. The Lions should have punted and made Kirk Cousins go the length of the field, but they didn't. You knew exactly what was going to happen. It was going to be Cousins, boom, 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 and they get down to the 2-yard line, and the Lions, for whatever reason, didn't let Minnesota score. And again, I know how it worked out. I understand what happened, but that was a perfect let them score opportunity so you get the football back with your one timeout and give Goff a chance to win the game. I know Goff won the game, but the Vikings, for their efforts, could have given Goff the ball with about 22 seconds left. On 3rd down, they threw the football, and it was a touchdown pass. Don't get me wrong. It was a TD pass to, I think, to Justin Jefferson. I can't remember who, but it was a touchdown pass. And so you scored. Great. You gave Goff a minute 14, and then they had the good return, too, which gave Goff good field position. What should have happened in my Monday morning quarterback, Sunday afternoon phone in hand tweeting quarterback, head coaching hat on, that should have been a run Alex Madison up the gut, drain the clock down to 30, and give Goff less time. Maybe let the next play, the play clock expire, back up 5 yards from the 2 to the 7, chip shot field goal, and win the football game. But that's not what they did, and that might get Mike Zimmer fired. We'll see what happens over the next 5 games. The Vikings are still in playoff contention, but we'll see what happens in the next 5 games. As for their future, I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think Zim is gone. I feel like they are going to desperately try to trade away Kirk Cousins if they can. That's a football team. Hold on, let me finish up on the Lions real quick. Excuse me. The Lions, they don't have their quarterback of the future. Say what you want about Goff, but they don't have their quarterback of the future. They don't have a wide receiver that you can, I think, get excited about. DeAndre Swift, banged up this year. Dude has all-pro potential. I think there's no doubt about that. Hawkinson's fantastic. They drafted Penei Sewell last year in the first round, so that part of the offensive line, in theory, is solidified. They fight hard for Campbell. Say what you want. Everybody says this, but they do fight hard for Campbell. Their secondary might be the worst in the National Football League. They got a long way to go. We've been saying this about the Lions for decades. They've got a long way to go. They have 2 first-round picks. That's right, 2 first-round picks in next spring's NFL draft, so they should get 2 impact players. Knowing the Lions, they probably won't get any impact players. Both players will suck. It's SOL, the same old Lions. As for the Vikings, I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think Zim is gone. I think that they're going to desperately try to get rid of or trade away or not have to pay Kirk Cousins $34 million. Is that what he's making next year? 34, something like that? $37 million next year. I wonder if Vikings fans are getting sick of the same routine with Dalvin Cook every single year. And I don't know what Cook's contract looks like. It's not one that I have in the back of my mind. But Dalvin Cook gives you 12 games a year, 13 games a year. There's always an ailment. When he's healthy, Dalvin Cook is easily a top 3, top 4, top 2 running back in the National Football League. But as we've seen a lot this year with McCaffrey and Kamara and Dalvin Cook and all these guys, Derrick Henry, you can only rely on your stud running back so much. And if you're going to be paying him a big boatload of money, see Christian McCaffrey, you need to get 16 games out of that guy. And Cook and McCaffrey's becoming one of those guys that you can't rely on. You usually could with Derrick Henry, but this year he had the foot injury, and that sucks because who doesn't love watching Derrick Henry run over people like you like watching A.J. Dillon run over people? They have when Thielen is healthy, and right now as I'm recording this, Thielen's not healthy. He's got the injury and probably won't play on Thursday night or maybe the following week. But between Thielen and Jefferson, that might be the best 1-2 wide receiver combo in the NFL. If not, it's one of the top wide receiver combos in the NFL. They've got some exciting, sexy playmaker pieces, but the Vikings are still a long way to go, and part of it might be the quarterback stats. Kirk Cousins' stats are crazy. He's got one of the all-time great quarterback ratings in the history of the NFL. His touchdown-to-interception ratio this year is at an elite level. It's better than Aaron Rodgers. But the guy just seems to come up short, whether that's because of the defense, whether that's because of the injuries to Cook, whatever it is, Kirk Cousins just can't seem to get on the right side of winning as a quarterback. And it's a team sport. I hate the fact that we keep win-loss records for quarterbacks, but we do. But Kirk Cousins can't get on the right side of a lot of wins. So if I was a Viking fan, I would beg, plead, do whatever, beg, borrow, deal, steal, try to get Kirk Cousins moved. Figure out what you're going to do with Dalvin Cook, man. Tremendous talent. Doesn't stay healthy. I don't see that team getting on a run. I don't see the Bears going on a run. Obviously, the Lions are done. The Packers will be kings of the North once again in the NFC. And then on to the offseason for the Green Bay Packers. What do I think their future is? I don't know. I have no idea. We have all offseason to talk about that, but first we got 5 games left. We get the Bears this week, Sunday Night Football. I think they're going to blow the doors off of Chicago, and this one's going to be over by halftime. Check out some stuff that I have written and all of my friends over at wisportsheroics.com. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast this week. This has been Wickett on Wisconsin. I'm Mike Wickett. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Mike Wickett. And as always, go Pack, go Bucks, and go Brewers.